Hi there, Dr. Rajiv Iyer here from IMG Secrets. I welcome you all to this live session where we share amazing career tips for you so you become established and successful with your career. Now, first of all, I want to congratulate those doctors who actually have obtained a position, and I'm really happy for you all. And second of all, for those of you who are going through your interviews, stay strong. You eventually will see the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, I know this is not an easy thing, and things will take time, and that's an expected thing. All right, so as you're joining, you can let me know where you're from. You can introduce yourself briefly and give me a background so I know exactly what I should be telling you in terms of your next steps with your career. Hopefully that's making sense. Alright, so I do want to announce our event that is happening in April. So we will be having a live session in India, in Bangalore, India on April 27th. Now this will be from 10 a.m. in the morning to 1 p.m. in the afternoon, where we will be talking about directly to you with some of the options you may have with your career. And I look forward to speaking to many of you over there. Okay. The second thing is we're also getting a lot of messages from people in the Middle East. So our team is exploring that if we can conduct an in-person session in the beautiful city of Dubai on April 20th. So our team is working on the necessary requirements in order to make this happen, but we will keep you posted as we learn more about this. Now, as you all start posting questions, I do want to mention that the recent video about USMLE and no USMLE, where some of our candidates did obtain a position without USMLE, had a lot of comments and interactions. So I do want to touch base upon that. So before that, do you want to make an announcement? Here's my daughter who's going to say a few things.
Hey guys, so welcome to our live. So we're basically going to be doing a giveaway, which we usually do in our lives. And towards the end, while my dad is answering questions that you guys ask, we're going to ask you guys to put your name in the live chat. And then I'm going to add you to the wheel, and then we're going to spin it to pick a lucky winner. So in order to be on the wheel, you have to like the channel, you have to subscribe, and then you put your name in the wheel, and then I'll add you. And then later on, a couple minutes later, we'll spin it, and hopefully you win a free coaching session.
Cool. All right.
So be sure to look out for that, because you could win.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So what I wanted to mention about USMLE and no USMLE is, see, you have to think about what your background is. So we actually had two candidates who had zero prior experience in the USA, just in the last month obtained a direct consultant or attending physician positions in the USA. Now these things do happen. Are they very common? No, they're not. But taking the right approach, these things can happen. Now based on this, we do keep getting comments like, oh, am I eligible without USMLE? Well, as you think about this, the steps you want to approach is, where am I coming from? What is my background? What is going on with my career? And then based on this, if you apply for USMLE, without USMLE, then the steps would depend on how the hospital who is hiring you can help you with the next steps. So yes, it is possible. It is not very common, but you have to take some careful strategic steps in order to make this happen. So you become ultimately a fully licensed doctor here in the US. Now, if you have any questions, you can always post in the comments below. Okay? All right. So that is what it is. But see, I also have to mention that why is USMLE important? USMLE is the medical licensing exams. You probably know this. Now this means in order to obtain a license, the licensing agencies look to see whether you guys have completed your USMLE steps, just like anyone who has done their medical training in the US. There are also many other options. Okay. There are also many other options other than USMLE in order to transition into the USA. The USMLE still happens to be the most common way. Now, the message I'm trying to convey for you all is to not to say you should not read USMLE, but what I'm saying is if you have the right type of credentials and if you're able to secure a job, then the hospital helps you with the next steps. Then, yes, it is possible to obtain a licensure and function as a fully licensed doctor in the USA without USMLE. Now, the exact same thing happens in Canada, where you can proceed without MCCQ1, and we have talked about all this in our videos essentially. So, even in those situations, it all depends on how you approach your situation. There are Royal College pathways, there are other pathways through which you can transition without MCCQ1, but there are some pathways where you need MCCQ1 as well. So, it all depends on how you proceed with this. All right, so I do have a comment here that says from Hassan Ismail Ayuba. Good afternoon, sir. Hi, thanks for joining. And the question says, I am a medical student from Nigeria. Is it possible to become a neurosurgeon in the USA? Well, the short answer is yes, it is possible. But there are many steps one has to take in order to become a neurosurgeon in the USA. Now, neurosurgery obviously is one of the highly competitive branches. In order to do this, if what the typical route, what we see most people do is, there could be exceptions, most people do after their medical school is, they usually transition to the US and they try to obtain what we call as research fellow positions. Now, this is a position that actually does not require USMLE. If the hospital hires anyone as a research fellow, they typically sponsor a visa. And then you transition to the USA. For surgical specialties, we have seen IMG doctors spend somewhere between 1 to 4, sometimes up to 5 years working as research fellows, and then building their CV, building their connections, and then establish themselves in such a way that when they eventually apply for residency matching, then they are at a stage where they can get called for an interview. So that is one thing. There are many other things. The other thing is you need to have a really nice score on your USMLE Step 2 CK exams. Now, the hospital website may say it, may not say it, but for the most part, majority of the program directors do look for your USMLE Step 2 CK scores. Now, this is for residency. When you're applying for, let's say, a fellowship, when you're applying for directly an attending position, they don't look at USMLE scores. Okay. The other thing we also suggest is you complete your USMLE Step 3 and then establish some connections with either in neurosurgery in your case or any such specialty where you're interested in proceeding forward in terms of applying and then becoming a resident in that specialty. Okay, so bottom line is there are many different things each of you has to do in order to be at a stage where you can get called for an interview. So if you see all these interviews where people get called for, sure, you see all kinds of candidates who get called for interview, but these will actually increase the likelihood of having a successful call. All right. Now, let's look at the next one. I also want to mention, if for some reason you decide to join this call, then you can always join using this link from any device. Obviously, if you join, you can talk and your audio and video feed will be transmitted live. So keep that in mind. But you do have the option of getting on call if you need any more clarifying questions that you have. Then you're more than welcome to join here. Okay. All right. So the next question is from Dr. Zaim that says, does it make sense to do the AEP educator track without prior education background? All right. I need a little bit of background here, but I'm going to assume a few things here. Now, Dr. Zaim seems like he is an anesthesiologist and wants to know if there is an option of entering the US through the alternate entry path program, bypassing residency in the US through an education track. Now, to take a step back, Every specialty is designed very differently when it comes to alternate entry path. But when you think of anesthesiology, they have three different tracks. So one is a research track or research and fellowship track, the education track, and a clinical track. Now the question here is, can Dr. Zaim or any of you watching this become a candidate in the alternate entry path education track without prior education background? I would say it is going to be extremely difficult without an established prior background. Now, this is true for any specialty you might be. You always have to think about what my background is and how much experience I have in order to establish the next steps. Now, the good news is the American Board of Anesthesiology has come up with a new pathway called a clinical pathway. In this, they actually are now saying you don't have to have any research, you don't have to do anything in education. As long as you know how to do clinical anesthesia, you can actually say that this would be your focus, and then you can proceed with the application. So you can actually try that. But remember, the most important thing always comes to finding a place that actually would say, okay, fine, I'm going to hire Dr. Zaim and then help him go through the alternate entry path program. So that is what it comes to. And for those of you watching this, it doesn't matter what your specialty is, what your background is, the concepts are going to be exactly the same. Okay? Now, Dr. Batla asks, how easy or difficult is it to get into radiation oncology in the USA or Canada as a consultant after doing PG in radiation oncology in India? Well, I really don't like to use the term something is going to be easy, because nothing is going to be easy. Now, you need very careful strategic steps in order to apply for these. These are again extremely competitive. See, the whole idea why a hospital would take someone who's not trained in the US, Canada, coming from their home countries, and then trying to become a doctor is for the most part two reasons. So one is the hospital is really looking for someone, and that is where it comes to. The second thing is, now they have found a candidate who actually has established a track record in their particular specialty. Now, I wouldn't say it is going to be easy, but rather there are steps through which you can proceed. Now, in fact, radiation oncology very boldly advertises about their alternate entry path program, and just like any other specialty, radiation oncology offers this, and we have seen candidates move through alternate entry path program in radiation oncology. Now, I hope you're getting the message. Just because you do a PG from your home country doesn't make it easy for you, but it certainly makes you eligible to apply for these things, assuming you have the other necessary requirements, which is like training from an accredited place or a medical college and those type of things. Okay? All right. Now the next question is from Dr. Saha, who says, as an Indian IMG with year of graduation 5 years ago and did PG in radiology, is it possible to do diagnostic radiology residency in the USA? Well, the short answer is yes, it is possible to do residency. In fact, a person who has done their residency from their home country, if they want to do a residency here in the US or in Canada, they can pretty much do residency in any specialty. They don't have to restrict themselves. But yes, the short answer is yes, you can. But just as I was saying earlier for neurosurgery, you do have to come up with strategies that is going to help you establish yourself in such a way that you are you come up with basically a very strong application using which you apply and then say. In your case, I would also suggest you should explore fellowships in radiology as well. And this is true for all of you who have done their postgraduate training from their home countries. Now, you can actually maximize yourself by applying for both residency and fellowships, in fact, simultaneously, if you have done your PG from your home country. And for the most part, for most of you, I would say practically all of you, you do need USMLE steps for applying for fellowships and most certainly for residency in the US. but then you don't need any exams in Canada. So I would encourage you to explore all these options. So that way you can proceed with multiple different options. In fact, there have been candidates who actually get both residency and fellowship when they apply for both. And this is kind of a good problem to be in because now you have a lot of different options. And we see this happen once in a while as well. Okay? So I would say yes, possible, but make sure you get really well nice scores on your USMLE Step 2 CK, finish your USMLE Step 3, and do all the other requirements so you move forward with a very strong application. All right. Now, as we are looking into other options, now let me mention that one of the things that I commonly see with IMG doctors is they actually spend a lot of time looking at the eligibility for licensures, and then they realize, oh, I'm not eligible to obtain a license, and they kind of get stuck or they really get confused over there. And the other thing they look for is, oh, I'm looking at all these options. Every position says that I need to be certified here in the US, Canada, or same for Canada, I need to be certified in Canada or the US, and so on and so forth. And they actually lose track, and then they take steps, and the steps in the sense they take not USMLE steps, but steps in the direction that may not be very favorable to their career. So now these can be very, very difficult for establishing yourself. So for those reasons, what I'm saying is, you want to focus on seeing what position you're eligible for, and then based on that, you can apply for those positions. Now, don't spend too much time on the websites trying to figure out how do I get a license. Am I eligible for a license? Am I eligible for this? Am I eligible for that? And things like that. Now think about this. Am I a medical student? Am I a fresh graduate? Okay, I'm going to focus on residency. Now, have I done my PG from my home country? Fine. I'm going to focus on residency. I'm also going to focus on fellowship. Now, am I a very established doctor in my home country? I'm really well known. I've done a lot of things to my credit in my own specialty. Then, for the most part, you could apply for residency, you could apply for fellowship, you could also directly explore applying directly as a consultant or an attending physician. Now, this is the broad strategy of how you want to think about. Sure, there are exceptions to these, but now this would be the approach rather than focusing on, can I get license from this state? Can I get license from that state? Now, where do these state regulations come into effect is when you actually find positions, like let's say a year-long position, a year-long fellowship, 2-year-long fellowship, then you can use all these strategies from these different state regulations in order to help yourself to be productive in terms of proceeding with the next steps. All right. Do you wanna do the spinny? Come on.
Okay, guys, we're gonna start our live giveaway. So right now, while my dad is gonna continue answering questions, you guys have to like the video, subscribe, and then put your name in the live chat, and I'll add you to the wheel, and then we're gonna spin it, and hopefully you have a chance to win a free coaching and live session with my dad.
Right.
So make sure you put your names if you want to be added.
And then you get a free live. Well, not live, because coaching session.
Yeah. All right. Free coaching session. Okay, cool. All right. All right. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and then continue asking questions because I'm here to answer your questions. And like this video and then put your names on the chat section. All right. So Dr. Aruna Ramkumar. Hello, doctor. How difficult is it for an IMG to get into surgical residency after doing MBBS in USA and without substantial research experience and papers? but with a decent 260 plus step 2 score. Difficult to get in. Okay, so there are a few things you could do. One is, as I mentioned earlier, again, it comes to having really good CK scores, which you have, and that's I would say that's a decent score you have, and then make sure to finish your step 3. And if you are, let me see, is it for an IMG into surgical residency after doing MBBS? So you just done your MBBS. So in this case, I would say try to find a research fellowship if you can. Now, there are a lot of pros and cons with this. So currently, there have been some problems in hiring research fellows in the USA because of changes with research funding from Trump administration. I think this is likely to persist in the near future, and once those things are sorted out, I think things will bounce back into action. So what I mean by that is, in order to get a research fellowship, the hospital has to pay you money. Sure, there are unpaid positions too, but for the most part, if they have to pay you money, then they're looking at positions. Then they're looking at funding that they may not have. Now that brings to my mind one other interesting thing that you actually could explore if you can sustain your life in the U.S. A unpaid position as a research fellow. I I don't encourage this, but if you don't have any other options, that might be one of the things you may want to do. Okay. Okay. All right. Step 2 CK. Step 3 research fellowship, and then ideally in with someone in surgery, and that's how you establish connection with surgery and increase your chances of getting called into a residency interview. So bottom line is, it is going to be quite difficult, but is it possible? Yes, people have done it. People have done it from many other countries, and in fact, our own IMG Secrets expert, Dr. Rangraj, is a surgeon who is trained from India and who is now a very well established surgeon in the Bay Area. Okay, so things like this actually do happen. And the other specialties which actually run the same problems are dermatology, extremely difficult to get in, radiology, and anesthesiology. But thankfully, getting into these as residents is extremely difficult. So majority of the times we see that people are trained in their home countries, come into the US, do something else, and they are in these positions, but they eventually change their profession. But if you do not have to change the profession, these are the things you need to do. It changes when you're thinking of applying for a fellowship. Now, let's say you're an anesthesiologist or a radiologist, then you're actually in a good position for the opportunities in terms of applying and getting a clinical fellowship rather than residency. Residency is still difficult, clinical fellowship is an option, but not for you, Dr. Ramkumar. For you, actually, you should focus on all your step 2 scores and then hopefully try to find a research position, establish yourself in that field, and then eventually apply for residency without spending too much time, because the year of graduation is also something they look at for residency. Not for fellowships, not for directly an attending position, but for residency, yes, they certainly look for that. Okay. All right. What do you think? Are we good with the spin? Okay. All right. Continue to put in, and we will see what's going on. Okay. In the meanwhile, I'm going to take the next question, which is Dr. Ansari. Hi, sir. I'm from Nepal, planning for PG in the USA, but I don't have any research and publication. Can I still match for residency after completing USMLE exam with research paper? Well, so the thing is, research is a very important question that keeps coming up. See, here's the way you want to think about this. Having a research paper is not treated as all or none phenomenon. Sure, having a research helps, but not having a research does not mean you're not going to match into any residency program. So I see this. I many times see these two things, research and observership. People focus too much on these things, and they do stuff in a very different way that actually may not help them. So, for example, in research, they start putting out papers in journals that are not well known. And see, the way you want to think about it is think from the perspective of a program director. If you're able to do any research, sure, that certainly is good. But people have still matched without having completing any research papers. For local graduates, I almost never see them having research papers. There are exceptions, but majority of them would not have any research papers. But for IMG doctors, it is different. Sure, if you're applying for an extremely competitive specialty, I'll take the example of what a program director from ENT was talking about this. Now, this person is actually a program director in a very reputed program here in New Jersey. Now, she was saying when they look at the assessment of a candidate's CV, they look at research for sure, but where is this research coming from? Okay, what journal is this published in? And is this person really involved in this research? You have a name somewhere in between. Sure, it serves as a name, but may not really help. So this is the way you want to think about it. So bottom line is, you don't have any research. I would highly encourage to focus on publishing some high quality research if you can, but not having research does not mean you're not going to match. Okay, it's the same thing for observerships. Majority of them have it, but we do see these things happening. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay. All right. Truly appreciate your insights. It's actually my pleasure. Okay. I'm glad you found your answer. Now, Dr. Raja says, good morning, sir. Myself, Dr. Dilip Raja, MD Internal Medicine from India. Can I get attending physician opportunity after clearing USMLE steps, or I can repeat the residency in USA, sir? See, you can, if you're thinking of residency, so to me, I think you're at a phase of your life, although I don't know your entire background, that you probably are not there to directly applying as an attending physician. And especially if your training is exclusive from India, I would say focus on either clinical fellowships or maybe residency positions, but not directly as an attending physician. Again, I have not seen your full background, but based on what you're telling me, I would say this is what you may want to focus on. You can certainly repeat the residency in the US, yes. And this is actually the most common thing most IMG doctors do, unless they speak to us, where we tell them strategies on how they can bypass residency in the US or Canada and other countries. Majority of them who don't know these options exist, yes, they actually do end up repeating residency all over again. Okay. All right. What do you think? Are we ready to spin the wheel? Okay. Come on. So she's going to spin the wheel. Okay. And let's see what's going to happen. Oh, hang on. Dr. Raja says just become a member. Thank you for doing that. Okay, I really appreciate that. All right.
Okay, so I can't show you guys the wheel because it's on an iPad, but we got all your names down, so we're gonna spin and see who wins.
All right. So hopefully I put all your names there, and then we're gonna take a spin.
Yeah. So.
And you'll get a free coaching session if you win.
With you?
No, with you.
Oh, with me.
Okay.
All right. So Dr. Saha, we have a winner. It says it's Dr. Saha, and so you can hopefully see this. And just make sure to send an email to contact us at imgsecrets.com within the next week, so our team can work on scheduling a meet with you and me. So I'll be more than happy to talk to you. And I'm in fact excited to speak to you. And what if they don't win?
Well, don't worry, guys. If you don't win, we always do a live every month. So you guys can just come back next time and hopefully you win. Or you could always just book a session at the website.
Right, you can always book a one-on-one appointment on our website www.imgsecrets.com. And I do want to make a couple of quick announcements. So I'll be in Bangalore, India on April 27th. We will have a live session one-on-one. It's not one-on-one, sorry. We will have a live session. It's a group session, and I'll be looking forward to meeting many of you. So this will be held in Holiday Inn on Racecourse Road in Bangalore, India. For those of you who are familiar with the place, and because we have had many messages from the United Arab Emirates and the Middle East, we are really exploring on doing a live session in the beautiful city of Dubai. And my team is exploring all the opportunities and options on how this can be made happen because there are a lot of requirements we have to go through in order to do anything in Dubai. And we are working on that. And we will keep you posted about this session. So I'll be looking forward to meeting many of you in Dubai actually, and this is going to be on April 20th. And we are working on more details, and we would be sending out more details on our social media websites. Okay, cool. I will take maybe a couple more questions, and then we'll call it a day. So Dr. Bushall says, can I match without observerships and research? Yeah, this is exactly what I was saying. It is possible to match without both observerships and research. If you have them, it's fine. But we see candidates do match because the program director is assessing the overall candidate. They're not looking at whether this person has done observerships, they have not done observerships, this person has research, no research. Sure, these help, but you also have to be very careful in terms of thinking about how to move forward with all this. Okay, yes, it is possible, Dr. Busal. Okay, and I strongly encourage you to build your CV and then apply in as a make sure your overall package looks really nice, and then you can proceed further based on that. Okay. All right, Dr. Saha says, where can I send the email? It actually contact us at imgsecrets.com. I have typed the email right there. Okay. So you can, I'm going to put it on the screen. So this is the email that you may want to send it to. Contact us at imgsecrets.com and we'll go from there. Dr. Khan says, hello, sir. Hello. And this is exactly what I also wanted to touch base on. And thank you, Aero, for asking this question. I'm in class 12 preparing for my NEET PG exams. Can you give any tips to choose medical college that may help in the USMLE journey? Well, so if you're taking your NEET UG exams, I would say you're probably in India. You didn't mention that, so I assume you're in India. So the medical colleges, that's an interesting question. I am always in favor of picking the top medical colleges. For example, in India, my favorite has always been AIMS, JIPMAR, and those types, CMC Vellore, and those types of places. Obviously, because the reason I say is, I don't know if it's good or bad. That's a separate conversation. Many of these people who actually train from these places have a very well established network in these countries, and they actually are really highly successful. I mean, I know people from AIMS who are really, really top achievers in the USA, and I look up to many of them actually. And so these are some of the places you may want to explore. But eventually, it comes to you preparing yourself for your USMLE journey, and then you establishing your CV and your background in such a way that you come out as a highly competitive candidate. Okay, so obviously the really nice colleges are always good, but if you're unable to secure a position in those colleges, it doesn't matter what college you secure. Oh, but there is one thing that is a must. Your medical college training must be from a place that is accredited by World Health Organization and it must have a sponsor note. This could change in the future, but as of now, these are the two requirements you may want to look into as you're joining your medical college. Okay, that is an important thing. So here is Dr. Atul. Dr. Atul is also our YouTube member. Thanks for being a member. Good evening from India, sir. I'm interested in Australia. Dr. Atul, there are, okay, I see your next question. Let me take that. I have done DM endocrinology. I'm interested in specialist pathway. Should I go with internal medicine or endocrinology? Also, will Dr. Anil Kumar help in building my CV and assist through the whole process? So the thing is, I would say the specialist path most likely would be in endocrinology instead of internal medicine. And yes, Dr. Anil Kumar will help in building the CV and assisting through the whole process. But the way we are structured is, we don't independently let anyone do their work. Now, Dr. Anil would be the main expert working on this, but this is mostly like a team approach from our side. Okay. So we would be bouncing ideas back and forth. In fact, when many of you get our full help in terms of application, and let's say I'm speaking to a, like, let's take an example, an endocrinologist. I might actually go speak to an endocrinologist who's practicing here, and then bounce some ideas. Just mention that, hey, I have this candidate whose CV looks like this. So what do you think? Is there a place that is looking for someone like this? So we basically work as a team. Is what I'm trying to emphasize. Yes, we do help with the CV and the assist through the whole process, basically. Okay. All right. Dr. Riddhi says, is the US the right destination for residency after MBBS? All the immigration situation going on. Okay. All right. See, in my opinion, if you are, so here's the way you want to approach this. Am I going to stay in my home country or am I going to go abroad? If the goal is to stay in the home country, I would say the residency in your home country might be the best option for you. Now, there could be exceptions here, but I'll just say this in general. But if someone is thinking of going abroad, I would say US would be the best place to do residency. And after finishing your US residency, then you can figure out. It doesn't matter. Okay, you know what? I want to go back to my home country. I want to go to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. It doesn't matter where you want to go. The transition is going to be very, very easier and simpler. So that is the way you want to think about it. There is no immigration situation going on right now. The situation that is happening is all focused on illegal immigrants, as far as I know. But for doctors who are coming through the normal process of applying for residency spots, applying for fellowship spots, directly become an attending physician, we have not come across anyone having any problems with those. Okay? Hopefully that helps your answer. Now, Dr. Busal says, what can I do to make my CV strong? See, essentially, the way you want to think about it is, let's break it down into various buckets. So one is your clinical work. So you should have a track record of clinical work, no clinical gaps, and then make sure whatever position you're applying to. If you're applying for surgery residency, for example, then you need to be working if you're just an MBBS student, you should be working in the Department of Surgery somewhere. Could be in your home country. So that way you establish some connection clinically. So that is a clinical aspect. On the other hand, you've already done your PG in your home country. You now want to apply for residency in surgery. Then same thing. You want to continue your work in surgery. You want to apply for fellowship in, let's say, endocrine surgery. Then you may want to apply you may want to show that you have clinical experience over there in endocrine surgery. So that's the way you want to think about it. The second category is research. If you can, it's always more than welcome. I mean, I did say people have mastered without research. Yes, it is possible, but if you can do research, have some high quality papers, even 1, 2, 3, that should be okay. So that's the second category. The third category is what we call as education. So what I encourage you all to do is, so whatever your specialty of focus is, try to attend conferences in that particular specialty. Try to present papers. Try to have some publication. Sorry, not publications, but presentations there. And basically attend conferences, attend workshops. Now, if you are a senior level where you can present at these conferences, that is even better. Now, this is how you build your CV overall. Now, if you have a goal that, okay, I'm going to put one line in my CV every month, okay, you would have 36 lines in your CV at the end of 3 years, approximately. And that actually would increase the bulk of your CV, not just quantity, quality, by about 2 to 3 pages. That is significant. Okay? And we don't recommend any limits on the number of CV pages. So you can actually keep going on with your number of CVs. In fact, when we have candidates who are really highly accomplished, we see CVs that are 30 pages long, 40 pages long, and stuff like that. I was actually working with someone who is a who has been very heavily involved in journals like New England Journal of Medicine, and that person had like 40-page CV. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So we see candidates like this too. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's how overall you build your CV. Now, Dr. Raja says, okay. Good morning, sir. Myself, Dr. Dilip Raja. I think we took care of this, isn't it, Dr. Raja? Oh, can I get fellowship? I see. There is a second question here. Can I get fellowship in USA with ECFMG certification only and without repeating residency, sir? I cannot specifically comment on your situation, Dr. Raja, because I am not seen your CV. But in theory, yes, it is possible to get a clinical fellowship directly after finishing your home country PG. For example, we see this happen quite a lot. People have done their PG training from, let's say, India, and they are able to secure clinical fellowships in the USA. Okay, yes, it is possible. You already say with ECFMG certification, yes, I would say with ECFMG certification is a good idea. Without repeating residency, yes. All right. Dr. Atul says, thank you for the reply, sir. It's my pleasure, Dr. Atul. And if you decide to need our help, we'll be more than happy to help you. Okay. So you may want to, we will get you started with Anil, and let's see what he says. And then based on that, then we can work on the next steps. And we also have other contacts in Australia, which we may make use of in terms of preparing the application, because we want to approach this as a team approach. And eventually, when we make applications, we want to ensure that we do a really nice job that actually is going to help you, in fact, because it's your career. Okay. All right. Dr. Suresh says, hi, sir. I want to do anesthesia fellowship in Canada for 2 years and come back to India. Can I do 2 anesthesia fellowships in consecutive years, like first year pain and next year neuroanesthesia? In theory, yes, you can. But I don't see how this is going to add value to your career, Dr. Suresh. So this is something you may want to think about. I would say if you want to do a pain fellowship, sure. In theory, yes, you can. But think of the bigger picture. What you're trying to do here, what your long-term goals are, and why you want to do this. I would say majority of the times, if someone gets a clinical fellowship in the USA, the very next thing they do is start looking for jobs, and we see very, very few people go back to their home countries from the US. Okay, very few actually. All right, Dr. Raja says yes, sir. Okay, glad. I'm happy I could answer your question. Thank you for remembering. Yes, it's my pleasure. All right, so it was as I say, I've been talking continuously for the last 45 minutes. Guys, want to come to say bye? It was so nice talking to you all. It was been a pleasure helping you all. And if you do decide to need our help, you can always go to our website and make an appointment from there at www.imgsecrets.com. 2 quick reminders about our session. Okay, so one is on April 27th. I'll be in Bangalore, India, and on April 20th, we're exploring the possibility of being in Dubai. Okay? All right, we'll keep you posted about this. And any questions, continue to post in the comments. I try to get back to you as soon as possible, but it is extremely hard sometimes to get back to those comments because they don't have context in it. And some people also are not familiar with these, and they put like condescending comments. I get it, it's your opinion. You're more than welcome to do that. But we try to answer most of them. Not always possible. Want to say bye?
Bye, guys. Thanks for coming to the live.
Bye, guys. See you in the next live.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Thank you for staying here and joining us. Take care. Stay safe. We will talk to you soon.